It's an early morning out west with the sun rising over the LA Coliseum. A little bit of a fog out there in LA this morning. We all have to wait about 5 hours before the Saints and Rams take to the field there in a huge NFC matchup. But it's never too early to talk Saints football, which is what we are set to do here over the next 30 minutes. And with that, it is our pleasure to say good morning, everybody, as we get ready to say goodbye to the month of November. Great to have you with us for Saints Game Day here on CST. As always, happy to be alongside my Super Bowl champ, Scott Shanley. I'm Victor Howell. Our Saints insider, Mike Neighbors, is up, standing by, ready to join us. He'll be with us from L.A. here in just a couple of moments. As we get set to talk about this game, we know this incredible win streak, Scott, that the Saints have been on. But as we talked about a little bit last night on CST Tonight, it took less than 4 minutes into the game 1 week ago at the Dome for a Washington Redskins incomplete pass to be thrown to the left side of the end zone. Problem is, for the Saints, it was more than just an incompletion on that pass, because on that play, the Saints lost a very valuable and very important defensive player who will not be in action today.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this kid all year, Marshawn Lattimore. He's been everything we expected coming out of Ohio State when the Saints drafted him in the first round of last year's draft. He's done nothing to disappoint. He's been in competition for Rookie of the Year. He's had that type of year, but you go back to last week, and it took one play, and it's usually all it takes in this game, and he goes down, and you're hoping it wasn't anything serious. Hopefully it's not serious, but he's not going to be able to go today, which is a huge loss for the Saints. They got to find a way to make up for that loss, but the fact that he didn't even practice or put any time in this week, hopefully that doesn't spell long-term bad things, but he's going to be out this week.
Maybe a benefit, though, that there are some names that were not active a week ago that could be active later today to help try to fill that void, because both he and Crowley is an issue now, going up against a very up-and-coming quarterback who we're going to talk about a little later.
Yeah, we give this kid a lot of attention because he's the best cornerback on the Saints team, but Crowley is another kid who's been playing great football. He came in from Colorado, not highly regarded, but he's done everything they've asked of him in this defense, made some plays. But when you're missing your top two corners at any level, especially in the NFL with as much as the ball flies around, those are huge losses, and you're going to have to do some things defensively differently than you've been doing this whole year to kind of disguise that.
And as we talked about last night on the college football level, sometimes it depends on the timing, when you win and when you lose, when you're making this playoff run. Here you are in this massive stretch run of the season, 8 games in on a winning streak. But again, it's all about timing. The blows come. It could have come back in week 1 of this 8-game win streak, but now the injury comes when you're in probably the most important stretch of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the nature of the beast. That's the NFL. You're constantly battling injuries, and you need guys to step up. And I think one of the things you can reference is 2009 when we were on our run. We played against the Washington Redskins without our top two corners. We played against the New England Patriots on a Monday Night Football game. We signed Mike McKenzie off the streets, and Mike McKenzie came in and played a great game, but you have to find a way to win games, and sometimes that means doing different things scheme-wise to protect guys who have not had that much experience.
As we mentioned, the Saints are still riding that win streak, but you may not have known it 1 week ago, about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Saints are down 15. The fans started filing out of the Superdome, disappointed that that win streak was going to stop at 7. Then Drew Brees went all circa 2009 Drew Brees and decided to put the team on his shoulders. Well, what did he do? He just went 11 for 11 down the stretch, 161 yards, 2 touchdown passes, his only 2 of the day. Also led the team to a 2-point conversion to send it to overtime. And, of course, that's when the Saints won it. We've been talking all year long, well, especially this win streak, Scott, about how the Saints have really developed this run game and this 1-2 punch. But what a luxury it is to be able to fall back on number 9 and see what he can do.
Well, yeah, I think last week was one of the first weeks of this whole year where we've kind of seen Drew Brees carry the team. They've been doing a good job of playing ahead of the chains, keeping control of games, letting the defense play well. But last week, when you needed number 9 came back and showed you he's still got it, and he's still got a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, we're not used to saying a luxury to fall back on Drew Brees with the way they've been winning, but when they needed it, he stepped up and did not have an incompletion down the stretch and got the Saints to it. Well, we were both up early this morning. We decided to make a call, understand our Saints insider, Mike Neighbors. He was having breakfast overlooking Marina Del Rey, but we said, get up, you got to get to the stadium. It's time for our show, and look at him. He's the only man inside of LA Coliseum. Good morning, Mike. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Victor. How you know, Paul Boron and I trying to mix in with the locals, a little yoga, a little Pilates, a little lattes this morning. We're feeling good this morning. You know, we're here inside an American landmark when it comes to sports. Of course, the LA Memorial Coliseum. This place has hosted a pair of Olympics, the first Super Bowl, the 7th Super Bowl. For crying out loud, Evel Knievel has done his thing in the Coliseum. The last time the Saints played in this building, you have to go back 23 years. They lost to the LA Raiders 24-19. Jim Everett was your starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. But today, it's all about the Rams, the LA Rams, and the New Orleans Saints, where once upon a time we thought, is this team ever going to get over 500? Now we're asking the question, are they ever going to lose? Going for their 9th straight. Well, the first 8 victories in this streak came in 8 different ways. Of course, the first 7 of the 8 were by a margin of victory of just over 17 points. But one of those games, the defense really came to play against the Detroit Lions. 3 defensive touchdowns. This was a huge win over the Lions, 52-38. Yeah, they've proven they can win all kinds of games. You fast forward to last week, down by 15. This team had to lean on Drew Brees for the first time, maybe in this winning streak. 11 of 11 in the last 2 touchdown drives. It forced overtime. The streak continued, and this team prides itself in winning week after week after week in different ways.
It does give us a lot of confidence because we understand that each game at times is played a little bit differently depending on your opponent, depending on how they're defending you or what have you. And when you do win in a lot of different ways, no matter what the scenario in a game, you feel like, hey, we've been here before. We know how to win this game. There's just a belief and a confidence.
So Drew Brees and the Saints ready to keep the streak rolling. We still have much more to come from here in Los Angeles. An early wake-up call, but we're raring to go. Coming up later in the show, we're going to talk about guys who won't play in this ball game. You talked about the defensive backs. We're going to talk about a lot of empty seats. This city hasn't seen NFL football in years, and they're kind of getting adjusted to it, especially with 2 teams. And then we have your LA version of More Likely. So I won't ask you guys to do any yoga this morning, but we're going to ask you a few questions later on. That's the story for now here in LA. Back to you.
To his point, LA hasn't had a lot of NFL football, but if you're going to have it right now, it's a great time to have it. The Rams are surging, the Saints rolling into town. Quite a matchup we will see out at the Coliseum. Mike, thanks so much. We'll be back to you in just a little while. As always, we'll take our first time out and come back and turn the spotlight on today's opponent. We'll focus on some of those players for the Rams, looking at quarterback Jared Goff, who's made quite an improvement in his game from a year ago. And as strong as the Saints' running game has been, the Rams have that similar strength with Todd Gurley in the backfield. We'll talk about the Georgia Bulldog when we come back on Saints Game Day.
Done a tremendous job all the way around, and Jared Goff is playing really, really good football, and obviously they got some weapons around him too. So their team has the same, I think, belief and confidence that we do. They're rolling, and we've got to play our best game when we go there.
Going into an environment where they're riding high. Obviously they're coming off a loss. They're going to look to rebound and get back to doing what they've been doing this entire season. And us on this 8-game win streak, we know we didn't play like we needed to last week. We're going to look to correct those mistakes and continue this thing rolling. So it's going to be a battle. 2 great teams. Hopefully we can make enough plays to pull it out.
This is one of the best offenses. When we were put to the test last week, I wouldn't end, obviously, but this is two weeks in a row we're going to go against really good offenses. But at the same time, right now, statistics say we're top secondary, so we're ready to compete.
Time to turn our attention and focus on the Rams now. And you heard Drew Brees talk about how they have something special. And referenced probably talking about Sean McVay, the young new head coach of the Rams. And 1 year ago, you saw a moment ago on the graphic, the Rams averaging over 30 points a game. Last year, they were averaging 14 a game. That point differential from last year to this year, so far, the biggest in the NFL since 1970. So McVay certainly has something going out there in L.A., and it all starts with the quarterback in Jared Goff. Last year, 29th in the NFL, Scott, when it came to the percentage of interceptions thrown per pass attempt. This season, he's 4th in that same category, so it certainly shows he's improved his game. You see on the screen, 16 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. What's been the biggest level of maturity increase for Jared Goff from last year to this year?
Well, I think for him, just getting the experience last year, but he struggled last year, and a lot of people thought, is this guy going to be a bust? He'd never taken a snap under center, and now he's in an NFL offense. But no doubt about it, the number one thing that changed for him was the hiring of head coach Sean McVay and his offensive expertise. Same thing he did in Washington for Kirk Cousins. He's kind of like the quarterback whisperer, and Jared Goff has been absolutely amazing this year. The way that he's been able to push the ball down the field, the way he's been able to get his offense in and out of checks, he's matured so much from year 1 to year 2.
So you referenced what McVay has done as a head coach, and it's interesting when you see a new coach come in, how fast a new system can have an impact, maybe not only for Goff, but let's go to the former Georgia Bulldog who's in the backfield with him. And, of course, we're talking about Todd Gurley. He exploded onto the NFL scene in his first year, then last year kind of just disappeared completely. Now, all of a sudden, he's back this year and leads the league in total yards from scrimmage and touchdowns. Does that tie in directly with what McVay's done with Goff?
Yes, absolutely. Well, anytime you have the threat of actually throwing the ball, now you don't put 8 guys in the box. You have to keep another safety back, and that's open running lanes for Gurley. And that's the one thing that he struggled with last year was he was the face of the franchise, and every defense knew going into the game they had to stop number 30. So they put 8 or 9 guys in the box, and no running back around the league can run against that successfully week after week. And this year you're seeing his success because of the passing game that's emerged there.
Well, Robert Woods was having a breakout season at wide receiver for the Rams, and then he suffered a shoulder injury. And as you know, and you've talked about it often here, the NFL is a league of opportunity. If one man goes down, it's somebody else's opportunity to step up. And that man right now has been Cooper Kupp. He has not found the end zone a lot for the Rams, but he has certainly seen his fair share of targets and receptions and been consistently a target for Jared Goff. So what about this rookie from Eastern Washington as he'll face up a banged-up Saints defensive backfield?
This was a great third-round pick. They got this kid out of Eastern Washington. He averaged over 100 catches a year. All 4 years he was in college. Set a lot of records. Ran a 4.6 40 at the 40, so he's not blazing speed. But what he does great is he works that intermediate area of the field, runs great routes, precision route runner, and those are matchup problems that nickel corners and safeties and linebackers have a problem matching up against. He's been outstanding for this offense.
You see right there, that's one of his 3 touchdowns on the year, and you're right, he's not one of those guys that will blaze his way down the field, but when you need and find the opening, he seems to be finding the opening. Let's go to the other side of the ball for a moment. This is very interesting. Pro Football Focus did a midseason all-pro team. They did the all-22 film, graded every player on every team for every play at the midseason point. Tom Brady had a 92.7. Only one player graded higher than him. His name, Aaron Donald, a 96.1. Now, maybe a lot of us don't know how you come to these grades. Here's all I know. If he rated higher than anybody else in the NFL at any position, the Saints need to worry about him today.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to say, from what I've seen from this guy, that grade does not surprise me. He is the number one. He is the best interior defensive lineman in the game. There's no doubt about it. His combination of explosiveness for his size, his power, everything. As an offensive lineman, I don't know how you block this guy one-on-one. I don't think anybody in the league can do it. He was a first-round pick out of Penn State. He's been outstanding. The last probably 2 or 3, 4 years, he's been the number one interior defensive lineman in the game. And defense coordinator Wade Phillips running this 3-4 defense knows how to use him.
LSU football fans in our viewing area will also remember the name Michael Brockers. He's actually benefiting as well because Aaron Donald is getting so much attention as he's working his way up into the NFL. He's getting a lot of success because so many people are focusing on his teammate down on the other side. So that's on the defensive line. Let's go to the linebackers position because Robert Quinn, 3.5 sacks in his last 5 games against the Saints in 4 games, 4 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. Another good pass rusher. You're trying to get past on the running game on the front line, then you got to worry about the pass rushing, and Robert Quinn is the name.
Yeah, there's no shortage of big names on this defense, but the one thing that has surprised me about Robert Quinn, he used to play in a 4-3 hand down in the dirt defensive end type, and he was one of the elite defensive ends. When they hired Wade Phillips as the defense coordinator this year, they asked him to do a lot more stand-up outside linebacker, and he's shown he has the athleticism to do those things, drop into space, and he's got good speed. He's one of those guys you're going to have to account for every time he's lined up on the edge as a tight end or a tackle.
Both of these defenses we're expecting to be put to the test today as you see some more spotlights of what he's doing rushing the quarterback because both of these offenses can light up a scoreboard. It should be quite a challenge. Be fun to watch it with an afternoon kick out in L.A. Well, while our Saints insider Mike Neighbors has been out there, we both asked him, go shopping for us. Go pick us up a couple of things. He went into Beverly Hills. His credit didn't clear. Didn't get us anything, but he did take some nice pictures from Rodeo Drive. When we come back, we take you back to the Coliseum. We'll rejoin Mike as we roll on this morning here on Saints Game Day. That's 20 seconds of your life you can't get back. I apologize on behalf of all of us. That's Ram It. Now, you might have remembered the Super Bowl Shuffle.
The Super Bowl Shuffle looks pretty good after seeing that.
I would have $100 if I could see you and your teammates make a video. Come on, after that.
No, the Super Bowl Shuffle, I think, kind of scared everybody away from doing those team videos like that. And I think that one would scare everybody away even more.
Exactly. Well, we had to show at least some of it, have some fun as the Saints get ready to take on the Rams. We were kidding around with Mike, having some fun out there in L.A., but you know what? He did hit the streets to take in some of the culture around L.A. while he's been out there counting down to kick off this afternoon. And We're going to take you back to the Coliseum. It's a little too early now for injury reports, Mike, but we certainly want to find out what you were discovering as you were traveling around L.A.
You know what? I heard that song. I know you sing pretty well. I could use your voice in that tune right there, but that's a story for another day. You know, the inactive's a little too early right now, but of course Lattimore and Crawley will not be playing, so Jared Goff might feel pretty good waking up this morning here in L.A. Now, Kenny Vaccaro and A.J. Klein will find out their fate in a few hours. Kenny Vaccaro told us this week he could have played a week ago. We'll see if he and A.J. Klein will be back for a Saints defense that could desperately use them both. You know, during this holiday season, a lot of us travel, and I think of the analogy here in L.A. when we pack and we're trying to shove too much in a bag, trying to get that last sweater into a bag. Many feel like the NFL tried to shove too many teams here in L.A. One was really not supported by this city. Two, way too much. The attendance has really suffered here in the Coliseum when you talk about the Rams. Started strong a year ago, but the empty seats, they're in full force right now. They've been in full force really the end of last year, the beginning of this season. In fact, attendance is 20,000 down compared to a year ago. And if that continues, it would be the longest fall in over 20 years in the NFL. So we wondered, you know, it's not really consistent attendance-wise here, so we tried to get the pulse of Los Angeles. We went to a place where attendance is always sky high. Oh, it's becoming a tired L.A. story. Empty seats aplenty for those hometown L.A. Rams. Does this city even know they exist? Well, we thought the best place to find out would be a California hangout, which never has a problem with attendance. Okay, we've established this. In-N-Out has a longer line than any Rams game so far this year. In-N-Out sure beats any 3-and-out. And even though the Rams are in first place, they will have a hard time overtaking this burger joint in the standings. What's more popular here in Los Angeles, In-N-Out Burger or the LA Rams?
In-N-Out hamburgers.
So we've established food over football in the city of Angels, but how much do the locals even know about its red-hot football team? How many Los Angeles Rams can you name?
None.
None. Can you name me maybe 2 players from the LA Rams?
Right now, no. But I know that they're doing well.
If it wasn't for Sammy Watkins, you'd only know 2 players, Jared Goff and Todd Gurley.
The meat of this story has us finding a surprising Saints-Rams connection right under all the burgers. We spotted Saints Hall of Fame offensive lineman Jake Cupp and his wife Carla enjoying the local cuisine. Jake is an original Saint and former All-Pro, where this weekend is special on many fronts. Sure, he gets to see the Saints, but he's also in town checking out the Rams, and for good reason. You see, his grandson Cooper Cupp is one of Jared Goff's favorite targets, where in his rookie year, grandson Cupp has 38 catches, 3 for touchdowns. Something has to give here, right?
Yeah, you know, there's probably 2 times a year that I don't root for the Saints. That's during the regular season when we play, and we'll probably meet again in the playoffs. So there's going to be 2 times this year that we're going to have to pull for the Rams.
Okay, your husband's going to pull for the grandson. I guess you're going to pull for your grandson, too.
Well, there's no contest.
That was the easiest question I've asked all day, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're with the Rams all the way, honestly. We're pulling for them. We're fans.
The Cubs know plenty about the Rams, but they are surely in the minority on this day. You see, most of the locals not only don't know many of the players, they have a hard time with the head coach, too. Who is the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams? Is it Sean Penn? Is it Sean Connery? Is it Sean Payton? Or is it Sean McVay?
You got me. I pick number 2.
Is it Sean Connery? Is it Sean Penn? Or is it Sean McVay?
It ain't Sean nothing. It's Sean Penn, I think.
Sean Penn? Yeah, I think so, too. That's exactly my point. It's Hollywood, guys. What else would you expect? We got some Connerys, we got some Penns. You never know out here. They're hoping attendance improves, though it has. The locals telling me in the last month as the football team has gotten better. And you never know who you're going to run into at a local In-N-Out establishment. We appreciate the Cupp family taking some time. It's a big weekend for them as well. Well, we're not done yet. It's Victor Howell's favorite segment, and we don't forget about it here on the left coast. It's more likely. All right, 3 hypotheticals. These anchors in studio have not seen these questions. It's time to go back to the Shawns, and we're not going to talk about Connery or Penn. More likely, guys, number 1, which Sean has turned in the best coaching performance so far in the season? It's about 3/4 of the way through. Would it be Sean Payton or Sean McVay?
Both outstanding candidates for Coach of the Year, but I'm going to have to go with Sean McVay. What he inherited with the Rams, Jeff Fisher, that offense was absolutely atrocious. What he's done with Jared Goff, I think Sean McVay had a tougher time. He didn't have number 9 at quarterback, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, that's the short answer to it. That's easy. I absolutely agree with what McVay has done, too. We knew the Saints had talent. You had Breeze coming back, and certainly got off to the slow start in the 8-game win streak they're on right now, Mike, is very impressive. But what McVay inherited at his age, turning things around as fast as he's done this season, I think it's got to be McVay to this point.
Do I have to go contrarian again with you guys? I'm going Sean Payton. You know, McVay had some help in free agency, had some added weapons on that offensive line, skill position. Sean Payton, really a lot of losses. I mean, you look, he lost Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead hasn't contributed, and this offense hasn't really lost a beat, especially with the running game. I go Sean Payton in the first more likely. All right, more likely number 2. Guys, in 2 years from now, in your crystal ball, which quarterback would you like? How about a 41-year-old Drew Brees or a 25-year-old Jared Goff? Which guy more likely?
He's setting us up. He's making me hate on Coach Payton, and he's making me hate on Drew Brees. I got to go with Jared Goff. Got to go with the young guy. The improvement he has shown from year 1 to year 2, you got to think that is only going to get better with the more experience he gets. I think Jared Goff has a bright future in the league, which is good for football fans. We need franchise quarterbacks in the NFL.
Could I have Drew Brees on the same roster coaching? Maybe Goff, kind of tutoring him a little bit? Sure. I mean, we all know what Drew has done.
I'm not letting you off that easy.
we know what Drew has done, but come on. In 2 years, we're talking about that with the way Goff has improved and what he has ahead of him. We've got to go young. You're setting us up, Mike.
I'm not a homer here. I know we've talked in the past about Sean Payton's future in New Orleans, and you know I've weighed in on that, but I have to go with with Drew Brees, because Jared Goff has to show me more than one season. We've seen Tom Brady continue to excel. I think Drew Brees is cut out of the same cloth. 2 years, I want Drew Brees. I want to see more from Jared Goff. All right, our last one. We like to have fun in our third more likely. We're going to bring this segment full circle. Christmas, guys, right around the corner. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. But if someone would offer you an early Christmas gift and you more likely could pick between these two, which would it be? Lifetime season tickets to the LA Rams or lifetime In-N-Out burgers forever?
We see the graphic. That's easy. Go ahead.
That's easy for me. And I want to keep in mind, In-N-Out Burger, I'm taking it because I'm not a Rams fan for one, but I live 10 minutes away from In-N-Out Burger in Dallas. Get it once or twice a week when I feel like it, and I would still take In-N-Out Burger over Rams tickets.
In-N-Out Burger, it's not even close, but we want to know if the guy behind you is just walking back and forth. We've seen him come on the side of the screen 3 times. There's one guy making a lap behind you. Who's that guy?
You know what? I hope it's the CEO of In-N-Out Burger, because we've given them so many plugs in this show. I'm hoping to get lifetime In-N-Out Burger. So finally, we agree on that. Well, guys, I know we got to wrap it up here in LA. We're going to have a big Saints Tonight show tonight, a one-on-one with Drew Brees, a one-on-one with Deuce McAllister, and all the stars of, let's wait and see victory for the Saints if they can pull off their 9th straight. They're testing out the mics. I think it's time for me to go. Back to you guys.
Mike, thanks so much. Could you see him not picking Drew and then having the one-on-one with Drew? I'd like to talk to you about your pick at quarterback. Mike, thanks so much. We're back with Scott's Key in just a moment. We are 4.5 hours away from kick. Scott, your key for the Saints to make it 9 in a row.
It's pretty simple. Win the turnover battle. This Rams team is 7-0 when they win the turnover battle in the game. They're 0-3 when they lose it. Take the ball away, protect the ball. That's the formula to win today in LA. We're
going to make sure that the scoreboard at the Coliseum works. It should be a high-flying affair. It should be fun. We hope the Saints ram it to the Rams. Ram it, I said. Look at this video. For Mike Neighbors out in LA, Scott Shanley, I'm Victor Howell. Thanks for starting your Saints game day with us, everybody.